At 2:27 in the morning, Lauren Spierer walked out of Kilroy's sports bar in Bloomington, Indiana. She was barefoot. Her phone was still inside the bar. And although her apartment was only a few blocks away, Lauren would never be seen arriving home. Over the next 2 hours, cameras and witnesses recorded fragments of her movement through downtown Bloomington. She returned briefly to her apartment building. She walked through an alley. She entered two nearby residences. Several people saw that she was physically unsteady. Her purse and keys were found along the route. Then at approximately 4:30 in the morning, Lauren was reportedly seen walking south toward her apartment, 3 blocks from home. After that, the confirmed trail ended. No camera showed her entering Smallwood Plaza. No reliable witness reported seeing her after that moment. No message was sent from her phone. No hospital reported treating her. No body was found. By sunrise, 20-year-old Lauren Spierer had disappeared. 15 years later, the central question remains unanswered. What happened after 4:30 a.m. on the 3rd of June 2011? And how could a young woman vanish from the center of a college town after spending the night surrounded by people who knew her? To understand why this case has remained unresolved, it is necessary to separate recorded evidence from witness recollections, to distinguish allegations from proven facts, and to remember that Lauren Spierer was more than the final hours of her life. She was Robert and Charlene Spierer's daughter, Rebecca's sister, a student, a friend, a young woman who expected to return home. Lauren Elizabeth Spierer grew up in New York. She was 4 feet 11 inches tall, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Friends remembered her as energetic, artistic, and outgoing. She had known some of them since childhood. She was interested in fashion and studied apparel merchandising at Indiana University. Lauren had completed her sophomore year and was taking a summer course in Bloomington. She had also worked as an intern with anthropology and reportedly planned to continue that work after returning to New York. Her future contained ordinary commitments: class, work, family occasions, plans with friends. Lauren also lived with long QT syndrome, a heart rhythm condition that can cause dangerous, irregular heartbeats. She took medication for it. When she disappeared, her medical condition increased the urgency of the search. Her family did not know whether she had her medication. They did not know whether she was injured. They did not know whether alcohol, physical trauma, or another factor might have placed her in immediate danger. But Lauren's condition does not explain her disappearance. It explains why those first hours were so frightening. In June 2011, Lauren lived at Smallwood Plaza, an apartment building near Indiana University in downtown Bloomington. The area was surrounded by bars, restaurants, student housing, and streets that could easily be traveled on foot. It was the kind of college town where friends often lived only minutes apart. A short walk home would not normally attract attention. But in Lauren's case, those few blocks became the center of a mystery. On Thursday, June 2, Lauren spent time with friends and acquaintances. The timeline that followed was eventually reconstructed from surveillance footage, telephone records, and witness statements. Each source provided part of the story. None provided the conclusion. A camera can show someone entering a building. It cannot reveal what was said inside. A phone record can show that a call was placed. It may not prove who was holding the phone. A witness can describe what they remember. But alcohol, stress, and the passage of time can affect memory. Lauren's case contains all three kinds of evidence, and every one of them has limitations. Around 12:30 a.m. on June 3, Lauren reportedly left Smallwood Plaza with her friend David Rohn. They went to a nearby residence associated with Jay Rosenbaum. At some point during the night, Lauren connected with Corey Rossman. Rossman lived in the same townhouse complex. The group had been drinking. At approximately 1:46 a.m., surveillance footage captured Lauren entering Kilroy's sports bar. She was under 21 and reportedly used false identification to enter. The bar had an outdoor area with sand underfoot. Lauren removed her shoes while she was there. She also became separated from her mobile phone. Neither the shoes nor the phone left with her. At approximately 2:27 a.m., cameras recorded Lauren and Corey Rossman leaving Kilroy's. This image became one of the defining pieces of the case. Lauren was alive. Someone was beside her. But she no longer had the object that could have documented her communications or allowed her to ask for help. The phone remained at Kilroy's. Lauren continued into the night. A few minutes later, Lauren and Rossman arrived at Smallwood Plaza. She had reached the building where she lived. For a moment, the night could have ended there. Lauren was close to her own apartment. Had she gone inside and remained there, The following morning might have involved little more than recovering her phone and shoes. But Lauren left the building again. The reason has never been conclusively established. Accounts describe her as heavily intoxicated and physically unsteady. A passerby reportedly noticed her condition and asked whether she was all right. Another man confronted Rossman because he believed Lauren was not being properly assisted. Rossman was struck during the confrontation. His attorney later said the blow caused temporary memory loss, leaving Rossman unable to remember parts of the night. This complicated the investigation. One of the people accompanying Lauren during a critical period said he could not provide a complete account. Lauren, the only person who could fully explain her intentions, was missing. At approximately 2:48 a.m., Lauren and Rossman entered an alley between College Avenue and Morton Street. Nearby cameras recorded portions of their movement. Lauren's purse and keys were later found along this route. By this point, the belongings connecting her to safety were being left in different places. Her phone and shoes were at the bar. Her purse and keys were found near the alley. She no longer had an easy way to call someone, pay for transportation, or enter her own apartment. Later accounts describe Lauren falling and sustaining an injury near her eye. She reportedly needed help walking and may have been carried for part of the distance. The precise sequence remains disputed, but the larger fact is clear. Lauren was extremely vulnerable. Her intoxication has often been treated as though it explains what happened. It does not. It may explain why she needed assistance. It may have increased the danger of a fall or medical emergency, but it does not explain why she was never found. And it does not make her responsible for anything another person may have done. The relevant issue is not that Lauren made imperfect decisions. It is that she may no longer have been capable of protecting herself. Lauren and Rossman eventually reached the townhouse. Rossman shared with Michael Beth. Accounts differ about some of the details inside. No camera recorded what happened there. No criminal trial has established a definitive sequence. And no one connected to Lauren's final known hours has been convicted of harming her. That point must remain clear. But the statements from those inside are important because the public timeline increasingly depends on what they said. Michael Beth later described finding Lauren and Rossman inside the residence. Rossman was also heavily intoxicated. Beth reportedly helped Rossman into bed. Lauren remained awake but appeared severely impaired. According to Beth, he encouraged Lauren to sleep on the couch. Lauren reportedly said she wanted to return to her own apartment. Smallwood Plaza was nearby. This could have been the final opportunity to ensure that she reached safety. Someone could have walked her home. Emergency services could have been called. A responsible person could have remained with her until she was sober or safely inside her apartment. Instead, Lauren was brought or directed to the nearby apartment of Jay Rosenbaum. Beth reportedly believed Rosenbaum could help her. At Rosenbaum's residence, Lauren was still without her phone, shoes, purse, and keys. She had reportedly fallen. She had an injury near her eye. Multiple people had observed that she was impaired. Rosenbaum later said he tried to contact people who might take care of her. Calls were placed from his telephone to David Rohn and another person Lauren knew. Neither call resulted in someone arriving to collect her. Questions have continued over who made the calls and what Lauren's condition was at that moment. Telephone records can prove that calls occurred. They cannot reveal everything that happened in the room. Then came the final reported sighting. At approximately 4:30 a.m., Rosenbaum said Lauren left his residence. According to his account, he watched her walking south toward Smallwood Plaza. She was reportedly barefoot, wearing black pants or leggings and a white top. She was only a few blocks from home. This account is central to the case. It is also limited. No surveillance recording has publicly confirmed Lauren leaving the townhouse. No independent witness has verified seeing her on the street at that exact time. The final sighting depends on Rosenbaum's statement. Investigators have never publicly announced evidence proving that his account was false. But they have also never produced footage showing Lauren completing the walk. A camera positioned along the expected route did not capture her entering Smallwood Plaza. Camera coverage in 2011 was incomplete. There were blind spots. A person could move through the area without appearing clearly on every recording. But after 4:30, the combination of witnesses and surveillance that had followed Lauren through the previous hours stopped. On one side of that moment was a young woman seen by cameras, students, bartenders, and acquaintances. On the other side was nothing confirmed. No identified vehicle. No verified stranger. No transaction. No telephone activity. No piece of clothing. No proven crime scene. Only an unfinished walk home. Later that morning, Lauren's boyfriend, Jesse Wolfe, attempted to contact her. Her phone was answered or responded to by someone connected to Kilroy's, where the device had been left. Lauren was not at her apartment. Friends could not locate her. She was reported missing. Robert and Charlene Spierer traveled from New York to Bloomington. They arrived not as public figures, but as parents searching for their daughter. They spoke with police, faced reporters, distributed information, walked through the city, asked students, strangers, and business owners for help. They did not know that the search beginning that weekend would continue for years. The response was extensive. Students and volunteers searched streets, wooded areas, fields, and waterways. Police reviewed surveillance recordings. Divers searched Lake Monroe. The FBI, Indiana State Police, Indiana University Police, and other agencies assisted during different phases. Investigators interviewed witnesses, examined residences and vehicles, collected DNA samples, and followed tips from across the country. The disappearance received national attention. Publicity brought valuable information. It also brought rumors, false sightings, and unsupported accusations. In a missing person investigation, every plausible tip must be considered. But each false lead consumes time, and each public search forces the family to confront the possibility that Lauren may finally be found. In the early investigation, attention focused on a white pickup truck seen in the area. An unclear shape in the truck bed caused speculation. The driver was eventually identified and cleared in connection with Lauren's disappearance. The image appeared important. It did not lead investigators to Lauren. In August 2011, police and federal investigators searched the Sycamore Ridge landfill near Terre Haute. Waste from Bloomington had been transported there. Over 9 days, search teams examined more than 4,000 tons of material. Nothing publicly identified as belonging to Lauren was found. The failure to find evidence did not prove that no crime had occurred. It only eliminated one possible location. This pattern continued. Areas were searched after tips. Remains found elsewhere were examined and determined not to be Lauren. Potential connections to unrelated offenders were investigated. In 2015, authorities considered whether Lauren's disappearance might be connected to the murder of another Indiana University student, Hannah Wilson. Police later said there was no established link. In 2016, investigators searched a property in Morgan County. Cadaver dogs were used. Ground was excavated. A vehicle was removed. But the search did not publicly produce evidence solving the case. Each operation generated renewed hope. Each ended with Lauren still missing. Over time, several theories emerged. None has been proved. The first is that Lauren suffered an accident or medical emergency after leaving the townhouse. She was impaired. She had reportedly fallen. She lived with a heart condition. It is possible that she became disoriented or collapsed. But an accident in central Bloomington raises an immediate question. Where was she? The surrounding streets and many nearby areas were searched. A person collapsing in an open location would likely have been discovered. For an accident to explain the continuing absence of her remains, Lauren would have needed to reach a hidden location searchers missed, or someone would have needed to find her and conceal what happened. At that point, the theory becomes more than an accident. A second possibility is that Lauren encountered a stranger. At 4:30 in the morning, the streets would have been relatively quiet. Lauren was barefoot, small, and visibly vulnerable. Someone in a vehicle could have offered assistance. A person could also have forced her into a car. Random abductions are rare, but they do occur. Incomplete camera coverage means a vehicle could have crossed Lauren's path without being clearly documented. Yet no confirmed vehicle, stranger, or physical trace has been publicly connected to her. A third theory is that something happened before the final reported sighting. Under this possibility, Lauren never completed the departure described by the people inside the residences. This theory has drawn intense public attention because the last known witnesses were people Lauren knew. Some accounts contain differences. Rossman said he could not remember portions of the night. There was no publicly released camera footage confirming Lauren left the townhouse. But suspicion is not evidence. Investigators have not publicly identified forensic proof that Lauren died inside either residence. No verified witness has described a body being moved. No confession has been confirmed. And no person from Lauren's final known group has been charged with causing her disappearance. A related theory suggests that Lauren may have suffered a fatal medical event or overdose while with other people, followed by an attempt to conceal her death. This possibility has circulated for years, but it depends on several unproven assumptions. That Lauren died inside. that others were present, that they chose concealment instead of calling for help, that her body was moved without leaving enough evidence, and that everyone who knew the truth remained silent. A theory does not become evidence simply because it has been repeated many times. Lauren's parents later filed a civil lawsuit against Corey Rossman, Jay Rosenbaum, and Michael Beth. The lawsuit alleged negligence related to the decisions made during Lauren's final hours. It was not a criminal case. The legal question was whether the defendant's actions could be proven to have caused Lauren's disappearance, injury, or death. The claims were eventually dismissed, and a federal appeals court upheld the result. The ruling did not determine what happened to Lauren. It did not confirm every witness statement. It did not identify another person responsible. The central problem was causation. Lauren remained missing. Without evidence showing what happened after the final reported sighting, her parents could not legally prove that the actions alleged in the lawsuit caused a specific injury. The case demonstrated the difference between troubling behavior and legal responsibility. People can question why Lauren was allowed to leave alone. Her family can believe that more should have been done. But a court requires proof linking an action to an identifiable result. Lauren's disappearance removed the facts needed to establish that link. For her family, the end of the lawsuit did not end the search. Charlene continued publishing appeals. Robert continued asking anyone with information to speak. Rebecca continued living with the absence of a sister who should have been present for family milestones. Time does not resolve an unresolved disappearance. It changes its shape. Every birthday marks the age Lauren should have reached. Every anniversary returns her family to the same date. There is no confirmed final moment, no grave, no certainty. Hope and grief remain active at the same time. Lauren remains 20 years old in the photographs most people recognize. Her parents, sister, and friends have continued aging without her. The university welcomes new generations of students. Businesses change. Buildings are renovated. More cameras are installed. Phones now record far more location information than they did in 2011. But none of that technology can recreate the missing evidence from Lauren's final hours. By the 15th anniversary of her disappearance in June 2026, Bloomington police continued to describe the case as active. New tips were still being received. Additional interviews were still being conducted. The investigation had accumulated hundreds of supplemental reports and thousands of pieces of information. Those numbers show that Lauren has not been forgotten. They also show how much information can exist without producing one conclusive answer. Long-term cases are sometimes solved because circumstances change. Friendships end. Relationships break down. Fear becomes less powerful. Someone who protected another person begins to understand what their silence has done. A witness finds an old message or photograph. New forensic technology makes previously unusable evidence valuable, but investigators need something real to examine. Online speculation cannot replace a witness. Repeated accusations cannot replace physical evidence. Harassing people connected to a case does not help determine which information is reliable. Responsible attention means keeping Lauren's name visible without turning her disappearance into entertainment. It also means refusing to define her by the final night. Lauren was 20 years old. She went out with friends. She drank. She trusted people. She made decisions that left her vulnerable. None of those facts explains why she vanished, and none reduces the responsibility to determine what happened. The central tragedy is not that Lauren behaved imperfectly. It is that several opportunities existed for her to reach safety, and none succeeded. She reached her apartment building, but left again. People noticed that she was struggling. She entered residences where others understood that she was impaired. Calls were placed. A couch was reportedly offered, but no one confirmed that Lauren entered her apartment, received medical attention, or remained with a responsible person until she was safe. That is not a criminal accusation. It is a warning about what care must mean. When someone is severely impaired, pointing them toward home is not enough. Watching them walk away is not enough. Safety means knowing that they arrived. Lauren's disappearance also reveals the limits of surveillance. Cameras recorded her entering Kilroy's, leaving the bar, returning to Smallwood Plaza, moving through an alley. The recordings created the impression that investigators could follow her night step by step, but a camera only shows what enters its frame. It cannot tell investigators what happened inside an apartment. It cannot identify every person in a passing vehicle. It cannot reveal Lauren's thoughts. And when she moved beyond the final known location, the cameras offered no answer. The most frustrating cases are sometimes not those with no evidence. They are the cases in which the evidence stops immediately before the decisive moment. Lauren's case contained names, times, footage, phone records, witness statements, court documents, searches, thousands of tips, but none contains a confirmed ending. Investigators may know details that have never been released. Open cases often include information that must be protected. Some people may have been ruled out through evidence the public has not seen. Certain statements may be considered more significant than investigators have acknowledged. But after 15 years, the available evidence has still not been sufficient to establish what happened in a courtroom. Lauren's family continues to ask for information, not rumors, not theories created from incomplete reports. They need someone who saw something, heard something, received an unusual telephone call, noticed a vehicle, helped someone that morning, or knows where Lauren was taken. That person may believe too much time has passed. They may fear the consequences of admitting they remain silent. But for Lauren's family, the need for truth has not expired. At approximately 2:27 a.m., Lauren left Kilroy's without her phone or shoes. Minutes later, she reached her apartment building. At approximately 2:48, she moved through an alley. During the next hour, she was inside or near residences occupied by people she knew. At approximately 4:30, she was reportedly seen walking toward home. Then the record ended. Those times create a timeline. They do not create an explanation. The explanation exists somewhere beyond the final reported sighting. Perhaps Lauren encountered someone who has never been identified. Perhaps something happened before she was said to have left. Perhaps a medical emergency became a secret. Perhaps investigators already possess one detail that has not yet been connected to the correct person. The evidence does not allow a responsible narrator to choose one theory and present it as fact. What can be said is much simpler. Lauren Spierer did not vanish without an event. Something happened. There was a place. There was a sequence. And there may have been another person who witnessed the truth. Lauren was only 3 blocks from home. She should have completed her summer course, returned to New York, continued her work, graduated, celebrated birthdays, built a life far larger than a missing person poster. Instead, her family has spent 15 years asking one question: where is Lauren? This case should not be remembered as a puzzle created for entertainment. It should not be used to accuse people without evidence. And Lauren's vulnerability should never be treated as a reason she deserves less compassion. This remains an active missing person case involving a real family that has never received an answer. Someone may know what happened. Someone may have carried information since 2011, and it is still not too late to speak. Before you leave, consider the final reported moment. Was Lauren truly walking toward her apartment at 4:30 that morning? Did someone encounter her during those last 3 blocks? Or had the explanation already occurred before the public timeline ended? Share your thoughts respectfully. Do not present suspicion as guilt. Remember that no one has been convicted in Lauren Spierer's disappearance. And remember, the family that has lived without certainty since the 3rd of June, 2011. For more carefully researched true crime documentaries built around verified timelines, legal records, and respect for victims, subscribe to the channel. No careless accusations. No exploitation of grief. No conclusions that the evidence cannot support. Only real cases examined responsibly and unanswered questions that still deserve attention. Lauren Spierer left her phone behind, but she did not disappear without a story. The final part of that story has simply never been told. And until it is, the search for Lauren continues.